Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. In the ugliest loss of the season, we had a very ugly injury, and it's one of those that you hate to see. It's almost up there with pitchers shaking their elbow. Anytime a batter gets hit on the wrist while they're holding onto the bat with a high night, really anything. It doesn't even have to be 95 miles per hour, but Marcell Ozuna, who has been probably definitely the hottest hitter on the Braves since the month of May, one of the hottest players in baseball, got his OPS over 800. Hell, we were talking yesterday after he hit that first inning double. It's like, dude, Marcell low key, like if he keeps hitting like this, should get some all-star consideration because he's been that good. Really helped out this team, really helped out this offense, especially the back end part of it. And he started to move up closer to the middle of the order, and he's just had nothing but success. Michael Harris credited him for his locker room presence and getting him out of a funk. So he's really been nothing but a positive for this team over the last 18 months or 18 weeks, or whatever I was going to say, over the last month and a half, 6 weeks. He's been nothing but a positive for this team, and then he goes down. And it's just sad because the reports after the game where he's going to go to the hospital to get more tests. He couldn't remove his batting guard when he came back to the dugout. Just pretty bad sign. There was a lot of swelling. It looks like this is going to be something that's going to keep him out for at least a few weeks, if not closer to like 8 weeks, which is just a brutal, brutal blow. More for the player than it is. The Braves will be able to withstand it, but for the player who is finally getting to look like he enjoyed baseball again and loved being there, it's a brutal blow for Marcell Ozuna.
The guy's been a traffic cone since he signed that big extension with the Braves. Dealt on the field, off the field. It's just been blow after blow. Some of them self-inflicted. Some of them, just that's baseball. And he finally getting out of it. It seemed, you said it looked like he was finally having fun again on the baseball field. His teammates were having fun. You could see him smiling, joking around in the dugout, being that veteran guy who's just a positive presence on and off the field. And then this happens to him. This is a fickle B word. It really is. It sucks for him. But just like you said, the Braves, they'll be fine. I don't feel bad for the Braves. I mean, we'll have Travis Arno take all those at-bats. And also, if it is something very, long-term, hopefully it's not. The trade deadline, getting a DH at the trade deadline is also something that's, not difficult at all. But back to Ozuna. Heart goes out to the guy. I mean, I hope it's nothing serious. They said the x-rays were negative initially. I don't know how you could get.
You saw the same thing happen with Orlando Arcia. Then he got revealed to have a microfracture. Which, listen, Arcia only missed 3 weeks and was back, and there was no, he's been just as good since before he was pre-injury. So there was no lingering effects. So hopefully it's something like that. Hopefully it's not even that. Maybe it really is just a bruise that hurt really bad. I mean, it definitely could be. You just hope it's not one of the things where something in your wrist is actually broken and then you're missing 8, 12 weeks, or we're wondering if you're even going to come back this season. But I do think you bring up a good point about the trade deadline. I think the Braves now with this, I'm assuming not necessarily the worst, but I'm assuming he's going to be out 6, 8 weeks. And I'm no doctor, so that's just total assumption. But if that's the case, you talk about needs. Eddie Rosario got hot there for a little, but he's been really bad over the last week. He's just been too inconsistent. You talk about needs going to the trade deadline. I almost now think getting another bat is a must, and you might want to go get 2. And just overkill it. Because like we saw, I mean, getting the Jock Petersons and the Jorge Soler and the Adam Duvals at the trade deadline don't require top prospects. You can get these guys that are hired guns that are on 1-year deals and get them to come. Now, unfortunately, Peterson and Soler aren't going to be available this trade deadline, but there will be similar guys, and you got to hope that the Braves go out there and get one. I think that now becomes your number one priority, especially if Ozuna is out 6, 8, even longer weeks.
Yeah, I don't. And I know we're just playing the pitching matchups with Eddie Rosario and Kevin Pillar, and we want to give Eddie Rosario way more at bats, money wise, the track record. We want to get him going, but Kevin Pillar continually goes in with minimal at bats and makes a big impact in the field and offensively. I mean, I know we're playing the pitching matchups like I just said, but I think he deserves a little bit more playing time as we get closer to the All-Star break. I mean, I got to start seeing Kevin Pillar's at bats go up a little bit, I think.
Well, now it's going to happen without a doubt. If Marcell Ozuna has to miss any time, Kevin Pillar is going to be in there starting a couple days a week. Because as much as you just want to say, oh, just shove Murphy and shove d'Arnaud in there every game, like they're not going to play every game. It's just not going to happen. They're going to have off days. That he could do. Maybe d'Arnaud's in there against lefties or something like that. I don't know how they're going to do it, but Pillar is going to get his opportunities. And like you said, this could be the chance for him to really establish himself, maybe to take over that Eddie Rosario role. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but if Eddie Rosario keeps struggling and Pillar starts to get more at bats and he continues to hit well, I think you're going to see that trend continue of him getting more at bats. Now, they're not going to give up on Eddie because a hot Eddie is what you want going into the postseason. It doesn't really matter what he does in the entire season. If you have a hot Eddie Rosario at the end of the season, you saw how he could carry the offense 2 or 3 weeks. And still, if you look at Eddie's numbers since April 24th, I believe is the date, he still has like an 800 OPS over the last 6 weeks. So he hasn't been terrible over a pretty large sample size here now. So they're going to give Eddie his at-bats, but Kevin Pillar is definitely going to get some opportunities, and they're going to play the hot hands going down the stretch. There's no doubt about it. Now, right now, Eddie Rosario, you want him to get hot, but if that never happens, they're going to start playing the hot hands, whether it's Ozuna and Pillar, whether they go out and trade for someone. You know, they're not going to mess around for that much longer. But in June, you still got to give Eddie some time. But I agree, Pillar is going to get these opportunities, a lot more opportunities with Ozuna sidelined, hopefully not for long. And like he's been great. I mean, he's been better than Rosario by a good bit.
Yeah. And I know sample size matters, but he has been. Loves running into walls and hitting home runs. Love that guy.
Yeah. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk about MLB All-Star voting and the Braves leading their positions.